Today I'd like to present my topic of school safety precautions in the United States. Schools throughout the nation have not taken enough safety precautions to keep students and faculty safe. I argue that safety precautions in schools should be regulated through a mandatory policy because students need to feel safe at school, administration and faculty members need to be educated, and violence can occur anywhere in our nation. For my audience, I wrote to Jennifer Graviet, who is a member of the Utah State Board of Education. She was elected in 2016 and oversees District 4. This district includes my county, which is Wasatch County. The reason that I wrote to her is so that she could progress my message to the Utah Board of Education. Students need to feel safe and be safe at school. Many students who are attending school are unable to go without feeling fearful of the situation that they may be placed in. Too often, students are fearful of a violent act occurring in their school. When a student is full of fear, it puts stress on their brain. Here we have a picture of a brain when it is put under stress and when it's not. The first picture is the regular brain, and the second picture is when stress has entered the body. When a student's brain is put under stress, levels of cortisol enter the brain, and it sends this chemical through the brain that makes the student unable to remember things that they are taught, and they are unable to retain any information. The reason that this is so important is because students need to be able to learn to their full capacity. It is super important that they are able to take in all the information that their teachers are giving them. Not only does school safety put stress on the students, it can also put stress on parents, faculty, teachers, administrators, and the community. By taking safety precautions, it can help not only the students, but also their families and the community. This builds a stronger community and helps students get the support they need for their education. With the parents not being so stressed, they will be able to go home and do their homework, and their parents will be able to know that they are getting the full amount of education that they need. Here we have a diagram which shows the percent of students who feel safe at school or feel safe going to and from school. As you can see, in 2012, we hit an all-time low of 83.4%. That leaves a rough 17% of students who do not feel safe at school. You'll notice that this is grades 9 to 12, which is the high school age, which is where students are often taught the most valuable education that they will use in their adulthood. In this next diagram, we have the percent of students in each grade that feel safe at school. You can see that in 9th grade, we hit a low of 33, and then it gets lower as they enter 10th grade, and then goes a little bit higher, but stays in the 30 range from 9th to 12th grade. These are the years that kids are in high school, and I think that is most important for students to feel safe while they are in the schools. Teaching the teachers and administration. This covers teaching the teachers how to prepare and how to react to any incidents that they may be put in. This quote says, "While ALICE training and school shootings have become commonplace for many local students, educators and school staff preparing for how to react to a school shooter is far from normal." This means that many educators and school staff are not prepared for what may happen in their school. If a violent incident were to happen, they would be uneducated and would not know how to react. This is super important because the students often look up to their teachers, and if something like this were to happen, they are the adult in the situation, and they are the ones who would need to stay calm and help the students. Here we have a diagram, and it's showing percentages of public schools that used safety and security in their schools. So at the top you can see that it says required students to wear badges or picture IDs at school, and you can see that the lowest percent is in primary school because students are too young to understand what that means, and the highest is actually in middle school, not high school. Then the next one is required faculty and staff to wear badges or picture IDs. You can see that primary education has the highest percent of this, and high school actually has the least. Now this could affect school safety and how the teachers are educated for school safety. They may not understand that wearing badges or ID is actually very important to keeping their schools safe. You can see the security cameras, they have the highest percentage in high school, which makes sense just in case of theft or other incidents that may occur within teenagers. And then last is controlled access to building during school hours. And you'll actually see that high school is the lowest, which isn't very safe for the school. Most schools in the United States should have controlled access to the buildings during school hours just in case of an intruder trying to get into their school. The next topic that I'd like to touch on is violence can occur anywhere in our nation. It's not subject to one specific area. This quote says, "Since the recent fervor over school shootings, Americans appear to be gripped with fear. This fear has extended beyond the poor inner city neighborhoods, reaching rural areas. An issue that was once thought of as an urban problem has recently touched historically stable suburban and rural communities." This quote is saying that it's no longer the cities with less money or the cities that are outside of the main area, but it's now reaching all schools. It's no longer a concern for just those schools that are minority based, but it is now a concern for everyone in our nation. And as we touched on earlier, it doesn't only affect the students, it also affects the communities and their families. And by making schools safer, we will ultimately have a stronger relationship throughout our whole communities. Some may say that increasing school safety will put more stress on the students, and that is by making them believe that violence is going to happen or that something is going to come into their school or someone inside of the school will do something. This quote says, "Filling schools with metal detectors, surveillance cameras, police officers, and gun-wielding teachers tell students that schools are scary, dangerous, and violent places where violence is expected to occur." Now, many people may feel this way about school safety, and I will admit, walking into a school lined with metal detectors may not feel the safest. Although it is very important that we use school safety to protect the students and make sure that they are getting the value of their education that they need. School safety, as I said earlier, gives the community as a whole ease of mind. It no longer puts stress and pressure on them, and it will also ease the students as they start to understand that it's not saying that something will happen, rather than if something happens, we will be prepared. We also talked a little bit about earlier, is that violence can occur anywhere, and it's not something that's just going to go away. It's something that is constantly going to be there, and it's constantly going to be in the world. There's nothing that we can do to stop that from happening in our schools, in our communities, in the world, but the ultimate goal is the students' safety and that they feel safe at school. And that is ultimately what we want every student to feel when they enter the school building. We want them to be able to go and learn and hear what they need to hear. And if they do not feel safe, they are unable to feel completely ready to learn. Another thing that many people believe is that school safety is in the past. This quote says, "Despite the widely diffused recognition and fear associated with violence in schools, empirical evidence indicates that schools are among the safest places for children compared to their homes and neighborhood environments. The high level of attention given to school shootings compared to other forms of victimization in schools is potentially misleading." While this may be true, and that we may be focusing too much on intruders entering the school, school violence is something that is always there, no matter what we are going to do. If this were the case, then we would have much lower percentages of types of crime in schools. As you can see, in total, 78.9% of schools had recorded violent incidents. This is more than 0.5%. It's, in fact, almost 3/4 of schools that are concerned about these incidents that are happening in their schools. And as you can see, many of these, only 47.4% were reported. And in every 1,000 students, 28% will be in some sort of incident. So school safety isn't something that is in the past. It's not something that is over. It is something that will continue to be there, and we always have to be prepared. School safety will be a concern until we can diminish the majority of these violent acts and get that percentage down. School safety across the United States is something that affects everyone. It affects all students, families, communities, and everyone else who is concerned about education. It's something that everyone should be concerned about, and it's something that we can fix by creating a policy or regulation for schools to follow with their safety precautions. Here are my works cited. Thank you for listening to my discussion on school safety in the United States.